Guys, welcome back to the
Let the old
Perpetua
whistle.
podcast. It's James Rankin here, coming from my living room today, and I'm joined by my old friend, Andy Smith. Andy, how's it going, bro?
Like most gym owners across the UK, I am under stress and under strain. But other
Yeah.
than that, I can't really moan too much.
Dude, tell everyone a bit about yourself, like where you're from, what do you do, how do I know you, all the good stuff. Don't add in any juicy details, like that's between me and you.
We don't need to know that, do we?
Yeah.
So I've always been the kid that's been obsessed with sports, but never been good enough to go fully professional at any of those sports. By the way, if you hear her like snoring or barking, it's my dog.
It's your dog.
Not me, I promise. So then, yeah, got fascinated with the human body, studied sports therapy for my undergrad at the University of Central Lancashire, which is where I had the pleasure or the shame of meeting yourself.
The shame, yeah.
Depending on which way you look at it. And then, do you remember one of our first walks back from training, rugby training? We had the conversation about the place in Ireland, whether it was appropriately named or not, and that was how we bonded immediately.
Yes.
Yeah,
Muff, was it Muff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, so studied there, studied hard, got myself a first class degree, and then went up to Edinburgh to do my master's in strength and conditioning. Fell in love with the place. Started my own private personal training studio. Turned down a PhD scholarship because there wasn't enough money in it. And then that's led me to where I am now, which is the owner of a 12,000 square foot gym in Edinburgh. And I've had some awesome consultancy work off the back of that with Scottish Rugby and then with Gymshark. And then now I'm in the process of launching an app, which is hopefully going to revolutionize powerlifting. It's effectively Strava for strength sports.
Wow.
And we're in some pretty advanced discussions at the moment around funding. And we've got a couple of really interesting pilot schemes going on with people in Canada, the States, and then we've also got a lot of federations signed up already in the UK and universities as well. So very busy. And then I guess how I fill my time is effectively just training and work. And then, like I said, my dog, who takes up most of my time, either sat on my lap snoring and farting away or out in the hills just pottering along. So
Nice.
yeah, that's probably enough about me.
Yeah, that, and alongside that, you're trying to take down the Scottish government almost single-handedly.
Yeah, that's a fun little segue.
Yeah,
I think
side project.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's not even trying to take down the Scottish government as much as I laugh and joke about it. It's more just pointing out the hypocrisy and the inequality in the way that the fitness sector has been represented, funded, and generally treated. And it's across the UK as a whole. Like, I'm working quite closely with representatives from gyms in England, in Wales, in Ireland, and Northern Ireland as well. So we're trying to be as united as possible, but with the different laws and the way that health should evolve matter and things, it is sometimes quite difficult and challenging. Yeah.
Good for you, man. I kind of wanted to start today with you and your training. You're quite impressive with what you're capable of doing for the size that you are. For people who don't know, Andy is the same height as me, which is small, but he's slightly thicker, broader. There's more to him. Yeah. Tell us about
let's settle on the word dense.
Dense, yeah, I like that. Tell best numbers and what your training looks like at the minute. What are you training for?
Comp lifts, squat 265, bench 172.5, and deadlift 272.5. Those are all below 82.5 kilos. Hovering, some comps I've done slightly bigger weight cuts, other comps I haven't done a weight cut at all. And got the invite out in 2019 to compete at Pro Raw in Australia. And I guess for some of your audience, the best way to equivalence that would be it's effectively the CrossFit Games of powerlifting, except it's invite only. So that was an experience. Then I dabble in Olympic lifting here and there. I've managed to hit a 120 kilo clean and jerk and a 90 kilo snatch, but I'll be honest, it looks more like a power snatch. And then the endurance stuff. So
yeah, this is what intrigues me.
yeah, I've never really done too many like serious timed efforts. A lot of it is just base building because I have a grand idea, which we'll probably come onto at some point later. But ultra marathon, my time was 6 hours 50 minutes.
Wow.
Which was off road through the Pentland Hills, and it would have been quicker. I'm sure everyone says that. It would have been quicker, but at kilometer 33, it started pissing it down, and I got the most horrendous blisters to the point where coming back down the hills, I couldn't actually run because my blisters were popping and breaking inside of my sock. And we started off and it was like 19 degrees and sunny, so I was just literally in a vest and a shorts. But we were on track the first 40k to come through in about 6 hours 5, 6 hours 10 for 50k.
Wow.
But then the last sort of 5 to 7k were just impossible. Both of us were broken at that point. And then
who did you do that with?
One of the guys that I play sevens with.
And you play sevens?
Well, I don't know if we can say that anymore with the cancellations.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then, cycling and swimming, put it all together. I've done 2 triathlons now. And then the goal this year was I'm booked in for Ironman 70.3 in Warsaw, but that's the 5th of June. So I don't think that that's going to happen.
I can't see it.
No, so I'll probably have to do one off my own back in Scotland, which isn't quite as attractive as doing it at 20 degrees on a pan flat course in Warsaw.
Yeah.
But, we'll see.
We'll have to do what you can. And without giving away too many secrets, what way are you structuring your training for that then? Like, how do you, obviously, I imagine your numbers have dropped off a little bit, focusing on the endurance stuff, but you can still squat, bench, and deadlift more than the average person. How do you keep it high?
So this is going to sound proper arrogant, but to be honest, my numbers haven't really dropped off.
Yeah.
Because I take my time and stuff. Like I've been adding maybe like 2.55 on a good year, 7.5 kilos to my lower body lifts, and then on a good year for my bench, if it goes up like 5 kilos, I'm ecstatic. So
you're winning, yeah.
Yeah, it's always been really sustainable, and I think there's potentially a little bit of a misconception that I've just started doing cardio, but like you said, I've always played sports and really broad and varied. So like I could swim when I was a baby. I'm pretty sure I was an accident because my mum took me to those swimming lessons, where they just like literally chuck the baby in and see if it swims Spartan style. Luckily I swam. And then, I played football to a really, really good level and got paid to play on some occasions. And then rugby, again, took it to the best level that I could, which is, and then led me on to sevens, where I've been lucky enough to go out to Dubai and win the sevens out there and play tens in Stockholm and travel around playing rugby. So there's always been a lot of fitness in my training. Yeah. It's just now it's formalized, and for some bizarre reason I seem to have settled on ultra endurance as the way to do it. But the structure is really, really simple, and because the 2 disciplines, strength and ultra endurance, are so disparate, they actually kind of complement each other really, really well. So without going into the sciencey side of it too much, effectively being as fit as I am just allows me to accrue and handle and recover from more volume in my resistance training.
Yeah.
In the same way that you look at pretty much any top level CrossFitter, they're also hybrid athletes in quotation marks. They're fit, they're fast, they're strong. I guess I'm just specializing a little bit more at either end of the spectrum rather than being kind of really broad across all the domains. But realistically, Monday is heavy lower body and then interval running. Tuesday is heavy upper body and interval cycling. Wednesday is like threshold tempo cycling, and that's it. If I'm allowed in the swimming pool, I'll swim on Wednesdays as well. Thursday is upper body hypertrophy with a tempo run. Then Friday is so it's easiest just to bracket as lower body hypertrophy, but it's like what I like to call kind of balanced prehab work. So it's all in the kind of traditional hypertrophy rep ranges, but it's like split squats, Copenhagen planks, Cossack squats, overhead squats, all the kind of funky stuff that is almost as much of a mobility challenge as it is a strength challenge. Then Saturday and Sunday is when I do my long runs, long swims, and long bikes. Although, like I said, no swims at the moment. So by the time I come around to anything again, I'm just using such a different energy system. But like, don't get me wrong, if you went out and you did like a 90 to 120 kilometer on a cycle on a Sunday, and then went in and squatted on the Monday, yeah, of course your squat would be down at first, but once you adapt and recover, a lot of it is psychological, in my opinion. Like you're using such different energy systems, and then with the fact that I train at like 10 in the mornings most morning, I can take a stim heavy pre-workout or strong coffee, Can Monster, something like that, and any kind of, with a proper warm up, any kind of issues or anything just aren't really a problem.
Yeah, savage. And what about coaching side of things? Because whenever we last probably seen each other, you were working in Virgin Active in Preston, about to go up to Edinburgh, and then you've obviously opened your studio, and now you've opened the gym. Are you still coaching? Are you doing one-to-ones or anything like that? Or what's your story there?
I do online stuff mainly, and then I just like, it's so cheesy, but I genuinely really love it. So I've got 7, well, obviously not right now, but 7 face-to-face clients who I do one-to-one stuff with, and they're a mixture. Some of them are just like Gen Pop, just wanting to be healthy. Some of them just want to be fucking jacked, and some of them are a mixture of everything. Like I've got one client, she's utterly mental. I'm convinced she's going to end up in CrossFit one day, but she's got Lithuanian records in squat, and in log lift as well.
Wow.
And she's learning to Olympic lift now, and she clocked up something fucking stupid last year on Strava, where it worked out she was, because of the programming, she was running about 45 Ks a week on top of 2 or 3 resistance sessions. She's just mental, and she's big as well. She hovers around 70 kilos, so she's got a pretty good build for CrossFit once we sort out her Olympic lifting. Probably on the heavier side of the top end competitors, but they seem to be around about 67, 70 kilos, don't they? Like the Sigmund Stotters, and so she's also done a couple of photo shoots as well. She was going to do a bikini comp, but they all got cancelled. So, and then online seems to be mostly coaches. Actually, funnily enough, coaches or serious kind of athletes who don't necessarily need the accountability of face-to-face in the diary once a week. But they still, want the thinking taken out of it for them. The nutrition, you get your meal plan and macros just dropped straight to you. You get your training program dropped straight to you, and it's just, they just go out and do. I think, that seems to be my sweet spot.
Nice. And with regards to coaching, like what sort of stuff, what do you love to coach? Like obviously with me and the people who know me, like I love helping people who aren't CrossFit athletes, but they want to do CrossFit while just remaining fit, healthy, and they want to look good. Like they don't particularly want to be massive. They don't want to squat 200 kilos, but they want to be able to do everything quite well. And that's what I really enjoy. And it's the type of client I probably attract. Like what's the favorite type of person for you to work with?
Good question. I don't necessarily think there's a favorite type of person, but I think what I derive the most satisfaction from is the kind of wow moments. So like, for example, if I was to look at like 99% of people on the planet, if I was to look at their squat, I could give them 3 things probably that would make them say, wow, and immediately the squat would feel 10 times better, and they'd literally be able to chuck more weight on it. I think those are probably the moments. So you get a lot of them with beginners, but then also I think my favorite type of person probably to coach is the person who's already quite advanced by general gym standards, but then you tweak a few things, program intelligently for them for a few months, and they just turn into freak beasts. I think that's probably what I enjoy them
Yeah.
the most.
Savage.
It's
And sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say it's like it's probably almost taking the end point of your typical client journey, that period that you enjoy the most, and then it's like
Yeah.
I jump on that, and then just like the ones that really want to progress on, and training becomes something more than enjoyment and something more than health. Like, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy training my Gen Pop clients, but
Yeah.
that's like I've got 3 clients now that have gone for sub 20-minute 5Ks,
Wow.
and they all came to me, and they were all decent runners anyway. So it's polishing the gemstone, I guess.
Nice. It's a good way to put it. And what about like regarding your own education around coaching and stuff? Like, what do you? I suppose you probably haven't got a lot of time for study around that stuff now. But who are you talking to? What are you looking at? What's in your radar?
So research reviews are always good.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you're allowed to still say his name, but the Alan Aragorn research review, I personally really enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of fuss around it, but it doesn't take away the fact that he disseminates good literature.
Good at what he does, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of Irish guys actually. So do you know David Nolan, the guys out of any of those guys?
David Nolan? No, I don't think so.
Synapse.
Where's he from? No.
Oh God, I couldn't even tell you. I literally just met the guy once, but then through kind of like mutual networks.
Yeah.
He puts out a lot of really interesting S&C stuff with Gaelic football players.
Yeah.
So yeah, Synapse Performance on Instagram, and then basically anybody that he speaks to. There's a real network of talented coaches and sports scientists in Ireland actually, and then yeah, like people at the real pointy end of strength and performance. So guys like Jordan Shallow for combining strength and performance and movement. Guys like Pat Davidson, compound performance. Can't remember his name. And then, to be honest, not much else. Like you say, I don't really have that much time, so I've got my core that I kind of follow.
Yeah.
And then it's like just reading the literature and then looking and seeing at what those guys are doing will give me everything that I need to get right now. What about you? How's your outlook on it all changed over the years? That's a very broad question, isn't it?
Man, so like, suppose let's give a bit of background on this for people who don't know. Me and Andy met in 2010, so 11 years ago. It'll be 11 years in September. I know, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 2010 is whenever I started at Preston, and we started training together in 2011. Whenever we lived around the corner from each other, and the sort of training we did then was obviously very biased around. Well, me and you thought we were leading the charge with stuff where we were bringing in more hybrid stuff. We were reading a lot of T-Nation because that's when it was actually kind of good before it got ridiculous.
That was when it still had like Brad Schoenfeld, Brett Contreras. It had
Christian Thibodeau,
the bold dude who's now like, oh my God, why am I blinding? Nick Tomanello, he was on there. The guy, I can't remember this guy. Sorry, carry on. It will come to me in a second.
Yeah, Christian Thibodeau was there. John Meadows was there. There was loads of guys. So we started doing heavy box squats, hang power cleans, WODs. We discovered CrossFit, all that stuff. Then whenever we parted ways, 2 years later, I pushed towards CrossFit. You pushed towards powerlifting. I went deep on CrossFit and Olympic lifting. Deep. And probably in the past 18 months, I've not left that. I still love CrossFit, but I recognize my bias and how inappropriate what some of it is for people who simply want to look good and feel good. So a lot of clients come to me at the minute. They're like, I want to look great and I want to feel great and I want to snatch 70 kilos. And I'm like, one doesn't really help the other. You can snatch 70 kilos and look horrendous. It's never going to, getting a bigger snatch is never going to help you look better. Ever. Heavier clean, maybe, but you're never going to snatch enough to do that. And I've kind of come around from that. I personally don't do any kipping gymnastics anymore just because I have no fucking desire to do it anymore. With my training at the minute, I was talking about this week already, actually. So it's much less structured than yours, but I do like an upper body hypertrophy day, an upper body strength day.
Of course, that's the first one.
I've not done that in years. And in the past, since the first lockdown, I've actually started doing like dumbbell chest press. And I was like, oh, this feels fun. This feels fantastic.
Have we got fact checkers on this? I've not done this in years. I would like to get that fact checked.
Oh, where to go? Because I was doing so much CrossFit, I honestly didn't do dumbbell bench press for years. So now I love that. I've got upper body strength, upper body hypertrophy, lower body hypertrophy, and then a lower body like power day. So today was an example where I was doing heavy cleans, then lighter but still heavy hang power cleans to get a good stimulus, then some sort of pull off the ground like Romanian deadlifts or sumo deadlifts, supersetted with a single leg move and some sort of jump. So whether it was a broad jump or a single leg jump or a straight leg box jump, not like a max height box jump. I do them sometimes, but they're more, I don't get the same stimulus out of them, I find, long term. And then conditioning wise, I'll do some sort of interval session, but probably not like yours, more CrossFit style, and then some sort of longer session, one of them a week as well, depending on how I feel. So I'm doing about 4 or 5 days training at the week at the minute, but compared to what I was doing 3 years ago, night and day, completely different. But my whole view on it, I suppose it's based on the clientele I work with. Like I work with people who just want to be fit and healthy and be able to do the CrossFit stuff, and I know how to coach the CrossFit stuff. And funnily enough, I've had to go back and look at things I learned and read and wrote 7-8 years ago about just being fit and healthy to kind of apply that again, because I never really had to do it. It was always help my snatch, help my clean, help my toe to bar, help my muscle up. And weirdly, that stuff's easy, whereas being healthy is actually, it's simple but not easy. But yeah, my whole coaching has come, and training has just come full circle. I'm probably back doing very similar to what you and I used to do in Virgin Active.
Yeah. I think, like, I love CrossFit. And I think if most people trained more like a high-level CrossFit athlete, then they would get much better goals regardless of much better results regardless of what their goals are. But then at the same time, most high-level CrossFit athletes don't train like a CrossFit Box programs. So that's where the kind of dissonance is.
Yeah.
People think that your likes of Matt Fraser and stuff is just doing like a WOD 4 times a week and then a couple of strength sessions, but he's really like, they don't train like that. They train like full-time athletes. So.
Yeah, well, he's big on that, actually. I was listening to a podcast, actually the first CrossFit podcast I've listened to in ages, that he was on. And he was saying that whenever he started in CrossFit, he was like one of the first people who would do rowing intervals. And he was like, why does no one do this? Everyone just does 50 cals as quick as they can and blah, blah, blah. And he was like setting, and it came from his Olympic weightlifting background. Like he'd do sets of cleans and not just max out. And he'd do sets on his rower and not just try and PB every time he was on it or whatever. And that's probably more what I'm doing now, rather than trying to just lift heavy every single time I walk in, which is literally what I did for years. And my knees hated me for it. Like lockdown has been a blessing for my body, because I probably look a bit better, but I feel a fuck lot better. Like I used to get creaky knees, especially waking up early, like lack of sleep, coaching all the time. Like,
yeah, you went through a mad phase where you were up at like what, 5 a.m. every day.
4:30, man. Like 4:30, 2 sessions training at 3 2-a-day sessions and 2 1-a-day sessions a week, plus 30 to 40 hours coaching, with the coaching being at antisocial hours. So I was
Yeah.
I was sleeping 6 hours a night, eating about 2,000 calories a day Monday to Friday, then about 5,000 calories on Saturday and Sunday. Just because if I was training twice, I couldn't stomach having it. And the reality of it was, like, if you go to an average CrossFit competition, I'm an average placement athlete. Like, I am not an elite level athlete. I can move really well, and a lot of the stuff I do looks kind of effortless, but I'm fucked. But I'm never gonna like, I'm never gonna be the strongest. I'm never gonna be the fittest. For my size, I'm weirdly bad at things like high rep pull ups. My shoulders just don't like it, and I don't care enough to make myself really, really good at them anymore. So I've unofficially retired from individual CrossFit competitions. I'd do a team one if someone wanted me to join in, but apart from that, yeah, fuck it. It's not for CrossFit. CrossFit's bad. If you try and compete at a high level and do all the stuff, it's not good for the body, especially if you're a coach alongside that. I think you'd be better working a 9 to 5.
Well, that's any sport though, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
when you take it to the very, very top level, there's always some aspect of your health, your general overall
Yeah.
picture of your health that's going to go. Whether that's
100%.
like the cricketers at the moment in the bio bubbles, their mental health, they're all apparently finding it really tough, and they're having to be like, they're managing the players and sending them home to the point where they're probably not going to be able to put out their strongest team just simply because they have to look after it because they've been in the bubbles for so long. Like
Wow.
Formula One, you have a crash and you've probably seen some of the footage from this year.
Yeah.
The forces involved on the body, top level rugby players retiring younger and younger. You're now seeing the effects of concussion from the guys that, like the 2003 England World Cup winning team. Yes, that's right. I had to mention that. You're wearing an IRFU top. What were you expecting?
I actually put this on just for your podcast. I was like, what top will I wear? Oh, yeah. I got this one for Christmas.
Should I go get my England shirt on?
No, don't you dare. I'll cancel the podcast.
Yeah, cancel culture, mate. That's all it is. Yeah, like any sport at the top level, it'll be really interesting to see the guys that have really, really advanced the sport of CrossFit, where they are in 5 to 7 years' time. Guys like Fraser, guys like Froning, even the ones who are now going to, like guys like Ricky Garrard that's coming back into competition.
Ricky Garrard,
he's coming to the end of his band, isn't he? Like, what are these guys that really took the sport on from the Froning era? What are they going to be like in 5 to 7 years' time in terms of their body, and the girls as well? That sounds really disrespectful, but those girls are training as hard, if not harder.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like, because even you look at some of the people in Froning's era, like Josh Bridges talks about how his body's beat up. Chris Spieler talks about how his body's beat up, and all the training they do now. Well, maybe not Josh, but Chris does, and he puts it on his Instagram where it's like he's looking after the body. It's a lot of tempo work. Marcus Philly's another one. Like he's completely disassociated from CrossFit, and he like coined functional bodybuilding and took it from there. I wanted to go into business stuff with you as well. Like, let's leave the training and the coaching and stuff. You mentioned at the start, like you set up a studio, you set up a gym, and I kind of wanted to touch on the Gymshark stuff as well. I didn't know you work with Scottish Rugby. That's deadly. So take me through all that. Like, what was the timeline? What's the stuff you've done? How did you get involved? Everything.
Right. So, timeline. Virgin Active, where I started off as a fitness coach. That's about when our ways parted and you went back to Ireland. I stayed in Preston for the year. Well, went to America as well. But so from there, got recommended to the Virgin Active up in Edinburgh when I was doing my master's to go straight in as a personal trainer.
Nice.
So I was there for just over a year, and it was always going to be just a stepping stone, because the way that the rent is structured there, I don't know if there's any. Virgin Active, they're not really big in Ireland, are they?
No, they're not here at all. But I know everyone will know the principle. It's kind of like a fly fit here.
Yeah. So and then I don't know how the PET works. I don't know if you'll have any coaches listening, but effectively, clients would pay £38 for an hour session, and I would receive 21 of those. So when you're doing 40 sessions a week, like I was for periods of time, you look at how much money you're losing, it's like £1,400 a month. But yeah, you get the cushy benefits, like you get pension contribution, it's an actual salary, you get holidays and stuff like that. So you are an employee, but it's a tiered earning system. So if you're not doing many sessions, you're losing a shitload of money. If you're doing loads of sessions, you're losing a shitload of money, but you're still earning quite good money. But I basically ran the maths, realized I could do almost half as much work and still take away the same basic by moving to my own facility, with a rent of £917 a month, I think.
Wow.
So I got a small unit, kitted it out. It wasn't incredible stuff. It was mostly strength shop, with a couple of like specific branded barbells, but it did the job. Moved most of my clients across from the gym, and then obviously I could open up to other people who weren't there. And then I had a couple of PTs that ended up working out of my studio, not working for me, just paying rent and using the studio as well. So it was a good little earner. I was able to save up quite aggressively, but I'm pretty sure I would have said it to you at uni how I wanted to own my own gym before I was 30. So I'm one of these weirdos that plans my life in 5-year blocks. So I was basically at a point where I was like, right, okay, so I can commit to it, put some numbers together and a rough idea. One of my clients at the time was a pretty high level accountant. So I just was like, can you look over these numbers and see? And then luck of the Irish, she was looking for a business opportunity.
Wow.
So I got myself a business partner, 2 business partners, in fact, her and her husband. He's more of a silent business partner, because he's got his career is like really well established. So he's just like a sounding board for us. And then, so we started taking our idea to funders, and the business plan was so good, the numbers were so good that we got funding. We got a lot of funding, in terms of financial backing from the bank, and also in terms of asset finance stuff.
Wow.
Then so it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride since the pandemic, but we just before this lockdown, which is lockdown 2 over here in Scotland. You're on your second one, aren't you?
No, we're on our third, bro.
Lockdown
3.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're lockdown 2.0 over here. Just prior to that, we had 950 members, and we were just about to start making money. So things were going very, very well, and then obviously we're locked down again. But we'll get through it. And then so along the way, the relationships with Edinburgh Rugby and Scottish Rugby have to be very informal because of corporate partnerships that they have. But during the first lockdown, we rented out loads of our kit to Edinburgh because they were training long before we had any members back in, but they had to train in biosecure bubbles. So they had to have different gym stations set up around. Have you been to Murrayfield?
No.
So you know how at the Aviva there's like the concourses around the stadium that are kind of outside but sheltered. So they had gyms. I think it was like 9 gyms at one point set up around the outside of Murrayfield because they had to train in their separate groups. All getting fogged and stuff overnight. And then with the SIU, they've been around the facility 3 times now to look at various different bits of kit that we've got, ask my advice on them. And a couple of bits of kit that we've got, they've now taken to their performance base at Orium. And then they were asking about a couple of bits that they ended up taking across to Japan for the World Cup, although that obviously didn't help them very much.
The Irish rugby team came in and trained with us as the first day of their pre-season for the World Cup, and that didn't fucking help them either, so we don't really tell anyone about it anymore.
They did CrossFit, bombed out the World Cup. What's the link? And then they've got some watt bikes from us at the moment because their Six Nations training camp has been disrupted. Some of their equipment's been running late, so they're borrowing some watt bikes from us at the moment. And then Gymshark, which is probably the most exciting and impressive out of the bunch. It's really fucking cool. I'm going to blow it. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah, it is.
So we got told that someone from Gymshark was coming to lift to have a look around. No idea what for or what the significance of it was, because at that point they were just literally a clothing brand. So we were thinking our wildest expectation was that they want to use our gym for one of the pop-up events that they do.
Yeah.
But effectively it was the COO, Chief Operating Officer Paul Richardson. And yeah, he got a tour around. I gave him the tour around, and I went full potato, like into the detail of the different types of knurling, different types of plates. Like I went full potato, full send. And then basically at the end of it, he asked for my mobile number and said, "I want you to come and work for me on a project.
Wow.
I can't tell you what it is. You'll have to come down to HQ, sign an NDA, and then I'll tell you about it." So then I got flown down to Gymshark HQ, put up in a lovely hotel, and had a one-on-one conversation with Paul Richardson in the Gymshark boardroom, where he outlined the project, asked if I was interested. Obviously, I just tried not to shit myself with excitement.
Yes!
Yeah, exactly. Mom, I'm famous.
Oh.
See that? Gymshark logo. So then after that, I then had to go down on the 2nd of January, 2019. Yeah, 2019? Yeah, 2019. And pitch to the Gymshark executive board and the planning team that was doing the planning for their gym, 3 different designs for their gym and how they would expand into the future with those designs. And it obviously went well. Wow. They picked their design, and then basically that was it. It was full steam ahead on the project. So it was everything from sourcing kit, designing the layout of the gym, talking through the different things. And believe you me, I was challenged on everything, because you have to be at a company like that.
Yeah.
And basically it's a 15,000 square foot training facility, which is an absolute athlete's heaven. It's a staff only private gym for their influencers as well when they come over. But it is proper, like, let me tell you, it is serious.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video where your man does the tour of it, and then Ross Edgley's done a tour of it as well on his YouTube. It's sick.
So I lived down there for 3 weeks in a hotel when they were opening it, to oversee the opening, because I actually did the staff training and like all the health and safety stuff for it as well.
Wow.
And that was unreal, because I was like 2 days of just like hanging out with athletes and stuff, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It was one of the best experiences of my life in terms of just sheer development, like seeing everything that goes on at that high a level of a company that was gearing up at that point to do a massive IPO.
Wow.
I think there's only been 24 British unicorn companies, which are companies with a value of over $1 billion, and Gymshark's the latest one. So to see everything, hear everything, learn everything, and I'm still in touch with Paul pretty frequently to this day, with ideas and just like having that network there. So also interestingly, their CEO was the guy who basically took Reebok from sponsoring Ryan Giggs to sponsoring the whole of CrossFit, and then jumped ship to come work at Gymshark. They just meeting all the people that were there, like in all the different departments, like the passion that everyone there has for Gymshark is something I want my staff to have eventually for Lift. But obviously that has to come from the way that you treat them and the standard of place of work that you give them. Like Gymshark's nuts. They've got like nap pods, so you can just go and take a snooze. They've got a giant screen that they let the guys use for FIFA. There's ping pong tables, there's a barbers, there's a massage therapist, and then obviously they've got the best staff gym in the world.
Okay. That is phenomenal. And he had just heard about your gym and decided to come look, or what was the story behind that? Did you find out?
I think that they were in contact with a few different equipment providers. Right. And then one of the equipment providers that we used for our gym was one of them. And they basically said, look, we've done a gym that sounds like it's kind of like what you're thinking about. Do you want to come and see it? Then they've obviously done their diligence, looked at the photos, looked at the socials, and decided, they did want to come see it. And then, the rest went as I've just described. So it's that in itself is the biggest compliment I think that I've ever had about my
Yeah.
gym, that it was good enough for those guys to want to entrust me with their gym. But then also the head of the SRU saying stuff like, "Oh, I wish our guys could train here." And then
Yeah.
we should be getting the touring international teams as well, when they're allowed to
Lovely.
actually come and train. So with that and the Pro 14 teams, we've had early discussions to try and get our facility as they're like renting out to them in the middle of the day and stuff.
Savage, man. That is unreal. That is unreal. Before I let you go, I just want you to kind of, through training, through business, you've obviously made mistakes, you've learned lessons, you've made serious progress. Like, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned and grown from, if you can pick one?
I don't think there's one specific one,
Mm-hmm.
but everything I've done and everyone that I've met, the most successful people, whatever their field, have a level of self-confidence that if you didn't know them and didn't understand them would probably be perceived as arrogance. And they have a work ethic that goes beyond anything you'll have ever met in your life. Like Paul's in his 60s and he can still deadlift 240 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah. And he starts his working day at like 8 in the morning, and then he does his 8 till 5:30, 8 till 6. Then he gets in the gym afterwards for a couple of hours. Then he gets home, and that's just how he is. And yeah, whether that's the rugby players, the discipline that they show, whether it's their coaches, the discipline that they put into it, whether it's the PTs that are the most successful, it's hard work and an unshakable self-belief with just the right amount of humility to always be learning. That's probably how I'd sum it up.
That's unreal. And that's serious. I'll get a podcast title out of that somewhere. Last one then. What's your plans for the future? I was going to say whenever the gyms open up again, but let's say best case scenario. What's the big plan? What's next?
Lift to be profitable and start looking towards our expansion. Then the app that I'm currently in the middle of launching, just to keep driving that on. The pace of development at the moment on that is absolutely insane. So have that as the only strength sports community online globally by the end of the year. And then to complete an Ironman by the end of 2022, whilst being the only person on the planet to do a 10 times bodyweight total in the same calendar year. Powerlifting total, that is, just before anybody starts thinking I'm going to clean and jerk like 400.
Squat, bench, deadlift. Savage.
Yes. So that's pretty much it, yeah.
That's it. That's unreal. Man, that was
come a long way from Dr. Tick standing outside 53 degrees.
Oh man, Tick! Remember Tick? I forgot that.
Well, do you remember though? It was Dr. Tick because everyone thought I was going to do a PhD, but I turned down that PhD opportunity. Turned it down. I could still be Dr. Tick there.
Yeah. Do you regret that?
No, because I wouldn't be where I am now. If I was going to, so basically the role was to be the head S&C coach of Hearts Football Club, their academy, and do a PhD alongside it. But I would have just sacrificed 3 years of my life for very little definite reward. Whereas what I've done in the meantime is straight ahead. Yeah. And I can do a PhD on my own terms one day in a field that I'm truly interested in, not just be a glorified GPS data analyst.
That's a good answer. I'll take that. Where can the people find you? Plug yourself, social media, website, the works.
Best place is social media. I actually only have Instagram. I deleted my Facebook account earlier today, in fact.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And you can tell that I'm stalling about my Instagram handle, can't you?
Yeah. I'm waiting for it here.
Pretty_powerlifter. Because I am pretty and I powerlift. that's the best place to find me. And then through there's links to my website and stuff. And if anybody's interested in online coaching, either drop me a DM or just click the link in my bio and go through the questionnaires there.
Yeah.
And then the gym at Lift Gyms UK on Instagram and Facebook. And then the app, if anybody's interested in seeing how they stack up strength-wise, at Brawn_Power on Instagram and Facebook.
Lovely. I'll give you a bit of credit with the Pretty Powerlifter. Some of the people who watch this or listen to this maybe don't know a lot about powerlifting. Typically, it's slightly overweight, pretty ugly men. Like, that's the stereotype of it. And Andy, as you can see, is a good-looking chap, and he's in great shape. Whenever you go on his Instagram, there's many topless photos that you can see, and short photos where you can see his legs and his abs and whatnot. So while it's self-proclaimed, it's not totally inaccurate.
It's not self-proclaimed. This was bestowed upon me by Alexander Clark at the GPC European Championships in 2014. He was the pretty powerlifter. What he said was, I can't be the pretty powerlifter when you're going to be doing the competitions as I am. But I was the one that was stupid enough to put it as my Instagram handle.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That works. It's all good.
What about you? Man? Where are you going? Where are you going? That's what I want to know.
Oh, good question.
So when are you 30?
November this year. So yeah, there's a few goals that I don't really want to divulge while the camera is still recording. I can tell you off camera here, but last year was huge for me personally. And business-wise, it was my best year ever with regards to coaching. Even though the gym was closed for half the year, like, I still brought in more money. I coached more people. I got better results with clients. I changed a lot as a person, and this year I literally just want to keep that ball going, and try some things. So we'll see where that goes. But I'll tell you whenever the camera stops showing.
Stop that camera.
Record. Yeah, guys. Thanks a mil for listening the whole way in here. Go check out Andy and his stuff. And as always, if you find any of this useful, helpful, entertaining, let me know, let him know, and tell a friend. And I will catch you again soon. See you later.